Hello and thanks for joining us on this edition of Green and Gold Gridiron. As always, I'm your host, Brian Groff, alongside PackerReport.com writer Keith Rordink. And Keith, after the Packers losing to Detroit, bouncing back against Minnesota, they then go out with a fantastic ceremony featuring Brett Favre and Bart Starr, and they lose that game on Thanksgiving.
I sincerely hope that someday down the road, all of these players feel a little extra bit of shame for laying the egg that they did with those two guys in the house. I mean, special day for Brett, and just to have Bart Starr there. I mean, that was far from a given that he would be there, and it was a phenomenal ceremony and privilege to be on the field at halftime. But it's a disappointing footnote, I think, is what it is.
It's fun, I think, for people to watch that ceremony on television, but to be there in person, what was the electric atmosphere like?
It was amazing, and you know, it's raining like a monsoon. I think I told you before the show I had an umbrella that didn't quite cover my shoulders, so you know, we're down there, and you know, Brett walks out and the crowd erupts. Everybody's got their number 4 flags, and it just, you know, it felt like old times. But then when Bart Starr comes out on the back of that golf cart with his wife Cherry, and you know, again, nobody was sure. There was so much written, you know, everything he's overcome with the strokes and the heart attack and the seizures, and you didn't know how that moment was going to be for him. So to see him come out and right as the golf cart came by me and the decibel level is just building, you see him look at Cherry and mouth the word, wow.
You could tell.
And I mean, he's pumping his fist and he's waving, and it was, to see him so cognizant of that moment was phenomenal. And to see him and Brett embrace at halftime was just, you know, something we're never going to see. I mean, Packer fans, to have those two guys on the field, and despite the way things have been going recently, have a guy like Aaron Rodgers on that field at the same time too it's pretty special. It's pretty unprecedented in the league.
Yeah, and to see that south end zone watching on television, and to see Bart go around, and you think of the Ice Bowl and the memories and all the tradition there. So you touched on Aaron Rodgers. He's not on the same page with his receivers. I think there's a myriad number of reasons. It could be on him, it could be on the receivers, but all in all, they're not producing. They're not making a connection. We've seen it time again. What's going on there?
It's so hard. You know, I've had, as I'm sure you've had, Brian, I've had conversations with people, and they're like, you know, the Packers they're so close to getting back to what they need to do. They just need to do this and this and this and this, and they rattle off 6 or 7 things, you know, most of which are on offense, and you're like, well, you know, tell me an offense in the league that isn't 6 or 7 things away from being a top-tier offense. But the biggest thing for me is they have no threat on the perimeter. You can't win a game doing nothing but screen passes. You have to win on the outside once in a while. Davante Adams has caught less than half of the passes that have come his way. James Jones isn't consistently getting it done. He still makes that great play. You know, he still gets his touchdowns, but they can't go to the outside. And you know, it's the trickle-down effect of Jordy being gone. It's the outside guys not performing. Aaron looks tight. They're not on the same page. The running game has been inconsistent. It's hard to watch. This doesn't look like the Packer offense we're used to seeing.
And Ty Montgomery is not close to being back. Jared Abbrederis has been dealing with some injuries as well.
It's tough.
So there are definitely some things that need to be addressed in Green Bay. The taping of this show comes prior to that game against the Detroit Lions. So once this is being aired, hopefully the Packers have bounced back and got a victory. We have a fantastic show set up for you. We have a 7-year NFL veteran who coaches high school football at Wittenberg-Burnhamwood. So we're looking forward to visiting with Bernard Holsey, and that's going to come up after the break. And we also have Jenny Ritchie, who joins us as always. And the last couple weeks with her NFL pick'ems, amazing.
I've been doing so good, and Keith is so mad.
Took the Broncos over the Patriots. But as far as our Titletown topics, what kind of things are we going to discuss?
We're going to talk about a lot of things. You know, we're going to talk to Bernard, you know, about being a Georgia kid in Wisconsin, how he ended up in Wisconsin, because it's not remotely similar. We're going to talk about, you know, his basketball career as well as his football career. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers a bit, and then we're going to talk about the injury to Gronk and what's going to happen with the Pats.
All right, sounds good. We'll take our first break, and when we come back, our special guest, Bernard Holsey, after this.
Brought to you in part by Hermanning Financial Group.
Hermanning Financial Group strives to help you and your family reach your financial goals while demonstrating their core values of integrity, independence, and innovation. With offices in Wausau, Stevens Point, Manitowoc, and Wisconsin Rapids, proudly supports Junior Achievement North Central District.
Junior Achievement gives young people the skills they need to own their economic success. Our volunteers help students with financial literacy, work readiness, and entrepreneurship.
and it's really helping me understand how it's going to be in the future.
Do you like to walk?
You want to live longer?
You will love square dancing.
Friends you meet for life.
Marvelous people.
Like I said, meet people. I love it.
Love it.
I love square dancing.
The fun, the family.
Great variety of music.
The camaraderie.
You young?
It's fun.
Try it, you'll like it. Call 715-544-7969. Visit WisconsinSquareDancing.com for more information. First lesson free, singles and couples welcome.
When disaster strikes, water, fire, storm damage, and even mold, we take care of them all. Anytime, day or night, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Quality service and customer satisfaction are top priorities. Tell your insurance company you prefer North Star Cleaning and Restoration.
And remember, don't just get it clean, get it North Star clean.
NorthstarCleaning.net.
Welcome back to Green and Gold Gridiron. I'm Brian Groff alongside Keith Rodink, and it is now time for us to introduce our special guest. He is a NFL veteran, 7 years in the league as a defensive lineman, and he is currently the head football coach at Wittenberg-Burnhamwood High School. It's our pleasure to introduce Bernard Holsey. Bernard, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We were just talking a little bit off camera about the fact that you've been coaching as the head coach the last 2 years at Wittenberg.
Yes, sir.
And someone I know who is a graduate of that school said, did you know that there's an ex-NFL player over there? So we started looking into it, thought, that's amazing, because you're the type of guest that we love having on this show. So the first question has to be, how did you end up in north central Wisconsin?
Well, my wife is from the area, and we ended up moving back here, over 10 years ago, and this has been my home ever since.
Now, 7 years in the NFL, coming out of Duke, but you never played for the Packers, but we were also talking, you almost played for them, didn't you?
I did. I actually had a workout with the Packers, and the very next day I had a workout with the Washington Redskins, so I actually stayed in Green Bay, flew out to D.C. area, and unfortunately, the Redskins pulled the trigger, the Packers didn't, so I ended up with the Redskins for that season.
You came into the league as an undrafted free agent in 1996 and signed with the New York Giants.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience and what it was like for you to go from playing college football at Duke to being a member of an NFL team.
Well, it was kind of something surreal because I never picked myself as being one of the top guys in college, and let alone a guy that could play in the NFL. That wasn't necessarily one of my goals. I mean, I love football. I mean, I learned to love it. My first love is basketball, but I really, love the game. I love learning about the game. Be honest, I just wanted to get a college scholarship and a Division I college scholarship, and football was the way to go. So, that's where it happened. But just to play in the NFL, it's a definitely eye-opening experience. One that I wouldn't take back for the world. It was a great experience. But it's harder than some people think. Some people think, well, you're talented, you play, you're going to play. It's not always that way. Sometimes it's the team you go to, and the scheme that you're in, and how well you were coached in college. And I was fortunate enough to have probably one of the best defensive line coaches I've ever been around.
Who was that?
Rod Broadway.
Okay.
He coached me at Duke. I think he's now currently the head coach at North Carolina A&T.
Okay. And, you feel like you beat the odds as a free agent once, making an NFL roster, but, then you played on 4 different teams.
Yes,
so is that kind of each time you're kind of coming in, is that new guy and having to prove yourself?
It is. It's always a new experience, and I get nervous for anything, and it's always a new, like I said, it's always a new experience, and it's always, you have to prove yourself every single time. And with the NFL, and most people don't think, you're on the team, once you're on the team, you're on the team. That's not always true. I mean, you could cut any day. And always, when I was a rookie, I always hear some of the veterans, you're always trying out. It's always every day at practice, every day during the game. It's a tryout, and it's a tryout not only for that team, it's a tryout for every other team in the league, because they see film everything, so they know exactly what you're doing, what you're not doing.
Now, you've got pretty good film of at least one play that I'm sure you like to look back on here and there. Tell us about the touchdown on Monday Night Football.
Well, what I can remember, it's been a while, but
I'd be watching it every day. But
I don't. I actually have not watched it in a while, quite a while. But I know we had a blitz on, and our safety blitzed, and the ball came loose, and next thing you know, the ball's right in my face and it's bouncing. I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't let me drop the ball. So I grabbed the ball and started running, and I thought, okay, somebody's going to tackle me, and then I was like, oh no, I think I'm going to score a touchdown. And as I go towards the end zone, I could see myself in the jumbotron, and I actually realized, oh gosh, I'm gonna score. And I think there's a picture of me smiling. I don't know. I'm almost sure it was, but yeah, that was a good moment. It was a very good moment.
You returned that fumble 46 yards.
Yes, sir.
Was it time for oxygen after that? What
You know what?
What happened when you got
I
back
had
to the?
so much adrenaline going. I didn't even really think about it. It was just like, wow, I can't believe this just happened. And I was like, I was waiting. It's one of those things where you're waiting on something else, like a flag or something. I was like, no, actually did score.
What kind of celebration did you have?
I did not celebrate. Jim Moore Sr. was our head coach at the time, and he would not. He definitely frowned upon that, so I actually ran back because I had to go back on defense the very next play. So, some people don't think about that. You celebrate, and then you get so tired from celebrating, the next thing you know, you got to realize, hey, you got to change gears because you got to go right back out there and play.
Now, as a coach, is that a play you've shown your kids, or how much do you kind of go back to your playing days when you're trying to coach your kids up?
Not very much. I usually reference high school and reference college. One thing I don't want, and I tell some of my coaches, I talk to them, individually in the locker room or, as a collective group. I always tell them, I try not to make them overthink and, look at me as, oh, he was this superstar and he was so good, because sometimes that can actually ruin a kid's morale and keep his confidence down. It's like, well, Coach Holsey can do this because he was a great athlete. Well, I'm just an average guy and I can't do this. And so I always I make it a point to reference high school and college, and I do sometimes go back and talk about some of the things from professional days, but for the most part, I actually reference high school because we're a growing team, and unfortunately, we haven't won that many games, and I just kind of reminisce and talk about how my high school team was and how we had to work at it. We weren't that good, but you still work at it every day, and I always tell my guys that. High school football for sure definitely prepares you for life, because you're always going to you're gonna always work with someone that you not necessarily don't get along with. You might not always see eye to eye. You come from different backgrounds, but you have to find a common ground to work together for the common goal.
And you really found a way to do that by going from team to team to team. And you've had your brushes with greatness. I was looking through your individual seasons and who you had as a teammate. I see guys like Tom Brady. I see Peyton Manning. I see Edgerrin James. I see Tiki Barber. Yes. I think you probably look back at your career as that whole picture, and you could take pieces from here and maybe the coaches of Bill Belichick perhaps, and how you in turn then convey that to your players.
Yeah, I do. I look at all the guys that I play with, and I've taken a lot from them, and like you said, I piece by piece put things together. I don't always tell them exactly where it came from, but I do reference some of my old teammates. Michael Strahan was a great teammate of mine. I tell you what, he helped me grow up. And there's other guys, but Michael is one that everybody, household name that everybody knows because he's on TV every other day, or every day, I should say. But I do reference a lot of those guys, when it helps them. And I don't like to talk about it too much, like I said, but I don't want to seem like I'm bragging about playing in the NFL. But I know it's a great accomplishment. But I'm about the here and now, and the here and now is for our team to do better.
Mm-hmm. And one thing too, when you talk about kind of that struggle and landing in different places, you were even in the Arena League briefly, and I think a lot of people think of that as maybe as a starting point or somewhere where you end up. And you did end your career there, but you were there in the middle and played well enough that at the end of, the 2002 season at Dallas, that's when you came back and got signed.
I did. I think sometimes for me, you get caught up in the hustle bustle of the business side of football professionally, and I won't say I lost the game, but playing arena football gave me a rejuvenated perspective on football itself. And I really loved playing that. And I tell you what, it was a hard game. I don't know how it is now, but I know at that time it was Iron Man football where you had to play both ways. And I played with some good ball players, and a lot of the guys I played with actually played in the NFL. So, and some people say it's a step down. I don't necessarily look at it as a step down. It was very hard. It was a very hard game to get adjusted to, and it was played against a good competition.
With the work that you're putting into high school coaching, how much do you follow the NFL nowadays?
I don't. I mean, I don't follow it as much as I used to. I try to get I always try to get my ball players to watch college football because they see the NFL, they see the finished product, and they look at all the one-hand catches and all the spectacular runs and things like that, but they don't necessarily see the technique and everything else. They don't think about, well, they had to come from somewhere to get there. So I always, like I said, I always reference that. But I do talk about it a little bit, but I watch the game, and some of the kids watch it as a fan, and I haven't gotten out of the mode of watching it as a player because I don't necessarily have to have the sound on. That's what I tell them. I tell them, I said, well, why don't you just take 15 minutes out of the game? I said, I know you guys are going to watch the Packers. I said, that's inevitable. I said, but take 15 minutes out of the game, turn the sound off, and watch the game and watch your position. I said, I guarantee you'll come out and you'll learn something new.
That's a good lesson for him.
Yeah.
We talked at the beginning about you trying out for the Packers. Did you ever play at Lambeau Field?
I've played at Lambeau Field one time.
And what was that experience like for you?
It was great. I had a lot of my family and friends come to the game. I think I had to get up like 100 tickets. I think something like that. It was at least 50. I know that for sure. And they actually made up shirts. It was a good experience. Unfortunately, we lost, but that's okay.
Who were you playing with at that time?
At the Colts. I was playing with the Colts.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break at this point. We have our Titletown Topics with our special guest, Bernard Holsey. Jenny Ritchie coming in after this.
Looking for a high-impact way for your business to stand out from the rest? Flipside Graphics specializes in vehicle wraps, vinyl graphics, and much more. Cutting-edge graphics with professional results is what we stand for. Have a large fleet that needs to be flipped or shirts to be embroidered? Our design team will handle every aspect of the project from start to finish. We design it, we wrap it, we flip it. Call Flipside Graphics today and stand out from the competition.
Hermiting Financial Group strives to help you and your family reach your financial goals while demonstrating their core values of integrity, independence, and innovation. With offices in Wausau, Stevens Point, Manitowoc, and Wisconsin Rapids, proudly supports Junior Achievement North Central District.
Junior Achievement gives young people the skills they need to own their economic success. Our volunteers help students with financial literacy, work readiness, and entrepreneurship.
And it's really helping me understand how it's going to be in the future.
Welcome back. Having a great time with our special guest, Bernard Holsey, and welcoming back in Jenny Ritchie, and she has our Titletown Topics.
I do. So you played for 4 NFL teams. You're from Georgia, but now you live in Wisconsin.
Correct.
So on Sundays, when football is on, who are you rooting for? Have you converted to a Packer fan yet, or are you being a little stubborn?
I think I'm still being a little stubborn. I mean, I do watch the Packers. I don't necessarily root against them, but I don't necessarily root for them too.
As a kid, who was your favorite team, though?
I didn't watch football as much, especially professional football, as much as most people would think. I actually am a basketball fan, big-time basketball fan.
Who's your favorite basketball team?
San Antonio Spurs.
I lived in San Antonio for a while, so I know a lot of Spurs fans.
Yeah.
I went to a game once, just one time. All right, so you played, college football at Duke. Awesome. You competed against Wisconsin.
True.
Obviously, Duke and Wisconsin rivalry. So this year, they met at the basketball national title game. So, I mean, with your ties with Duke, but living here, were you a little torn during that game, or were you like hardcore rooting for Duke?
I'm hardcore Duke fan.
Hardcore Duke fan.
Always.
We have to ask, because we're trying to just, convince you that Wisconsin's...
We're not swaying you too much.
Were people giving you a hard time? I'd imagine
gosh.
You were all decked out, I bet.
I was.
You're an alum, though. You can do that.
All my players always give me flack about wearing Duke stuff and being from Duke. Anytime they lose, or I have to hear about it. You know, I did actually.
Well, Duke's not losing too often, so you
no,
got
they're
that.
That's true.
Not in basketball
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, okay, so just another fun topic of interest. So Aaron Rodgers, a lot of post-game interviews, they're having a bit of trouble kind of clicking on the offense, and he's been pretty vocal about that, which is not something you usually see with quarterbacks, of kind of bringing out, kind of airing the dirty laundry is what people like to call it. So, I mean, do you think this is more going to be a wake-up call for the team, or as somebody who's played, do you think those teammates are a little bit mad about that that's going to be a little bit of a annoyance for them?
I don't think it's going to be annoyance. I think it's probably well-deserved, and I'm glad he did it, because sometimes you need that leader of the team to step up and say, you know what, I recognize what's going on. I think that's maybe what they're waiting on. I mean, the Packers have a pretty young team in my aspect. I don't, like I said, I don't watch it as much as and I don't know the players per se in ages. But, Rodgers is one of the leaders of the team, if the head honcho of the team. So when he speaks, I'm sure they'll listen. I would assume, and if I don't know, I'm not an expert, obviously, but I would assume they would come out and play very hard and actually probably win tomorrow night.
Kind of trying to prove them wrong?
I think so.
And I mean, you've been around guys like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. I mean, I'm sure you've seen those guys come out and make that kind of statement, whether it's in the locker room or in front of the media to send a message.
Oh, yeah. Tom was young at the time, but he still was, being vocal. When I was with the Patriots at the time, when I played with Tom, he was one of the younger guys, and there was a lot of older guys on the team, and they were very vocal. So that thing was running.
Willie McGinnis was there.
Willie McGinnis, and he, all those guys made sure that everybody was doing what they're supposed to do. When I was with the Colts, Peyton was the leader of the team, and he definitely did make sure everybody was doing what they're supposed to be doing. There wasn't any second guessing anything he said or did. And Coach Jim Mora was our head coach at the time in the Colts, and he was no nonsense with everything. So.
Awesome. All right, so we usually throw in an NFL interest topic, so we're not just constantly talking about the Packers and Wisconsin.
Okay.
So we'll give you a small break from that. So there's been a lot of injuries. I feel like a lot more than is typical. Maybe that's just me paying attention finally, but I feel like there's been a lot of injuries lately. So, in the Pats game, Gronk got a little hurt. So do you think that's going to affect, the team as a whole? He's a big player on their team. Do you think that one player getting injured, we had Jordy Nelson out, and a lot of people have been blaming that on why the Packers aren't clicking. Do you think that if a team gets in that mindset, that's a detriment to them, that there's one player that if they're out, they're done, like that just gives it up?
I think so. I think, in the NFL scheme, and especially being on the team, it's always the next man up. So if the one guy gets hurt, obviously, Gronk and even Jordy Nelson, they're great players, but the guy that's backing him up has to be pretty good too. Otherwise, he wouldn't be on the NFL roster. So he has to step up and advance his game more, and some of the other guys around need to corral around and step up their game as well.
It's not always just one guy stepping up to make up for that
I
loss
don't believe.
either.
I don't believe. I always believe that you play and you play hard no matter what, and you're one play away from being a starter, and that's the way you need to be in the mindset you always have to have.
It's probably something you tell your players now.
Oh yeah, always. I always tell them always be prepared, even if they're not in the game or not in, not participating in practice and they're steady watching. Always get a mental rep, because you can always learn what you're doing and even help the guy out that's in front of you, and that actually makes the team better.
Well, we're heading into the final stretch of the NFL season, hitting the final stretch of our show. Bernard Holsey, thanks so much for joining us.
Well,
we had a great
Thank
time.
you.
I appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Time for us to
coming
take a
by.
break.
It's been great
We'll come
having
back
you.
and we'll have our pick'ems and Keith's Keys after this break.
Awesome.
When disaster strikes, water, fire, storm damage, and even mold, we take care of them all. Anytime, day or night, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Quality service and customer satisfaction are top priorities. Tell your insurance company you prefer North Star Cleaning and Restoration.
And remember, don't just get it clean, get it North Star clean.
NorthstarCleaning.net.
Hermione Financial Group strives to help you and your family reach your financial goals while demonstrating their core values of integrity, independence, and innovation. With offices in Wausau, Stevens Point, Manitowoc, and Wisconsin Rapids, proudly supports Junior Achievement, North Central District.
Junior Achievement gives young people the skills they need to own their economic success. Our volunteers help students with financial literacy, work readiness, and entrepreneurship.
And it's really helping me understand how it's going to be in the future.
Welcome back to our final segment of Green and Gold Gridiron. The Packers moving forward, what kind of keys do they need to be aware of?
I mean, Brian, it's been the same key for a while now. They need to get the ball to the outside receivers. Where is Jeff Janis? Let's get him involved. Let's see if Devontae Adams can snap out of this slump.
The key to the NFL pick'ems the last couple of weeks is that Jenny has been on a roll, and as she comes in 3-0.
So excited.
Closing the gap.
Don't make fun of me just because you're mad.
Mad.
Don't hate the player, Keith.
He's
All
a
right,
little
we're
bit mad
moving
at
in.
me.
We're not
She's
picking the
coming for you
Packers
now.
because as
coming for
of
Brian.
the airing of this show, the game has already been played.
gonna pick them
First
anyway.
one to pick would be Seahawks at Minnesota. Jenny,
I'm
you
gonna
get
take
to go
Vikings.
first.
I'm gonna
You
take
going
Vikings.
Vikings. Keith?
Vikings.
I'll go Vikings as well. 49ers at Bears.
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 The Bears. Okay, we're keeping the same.
Okay, I'm not going to pick up a game if we keep picking up the same
Okay,
teams,
these are going to
guys.
be different. Our two
Our
locks.
locks are
Jenny,
different.
what do you have for your locks?
I have the Pats over the Eagles and the Texans over the Bills.
Okay.
Cardinals on the road will beat the Rams. Tennessee at home against Jacksonville.
Very confident. I love it. And because
This
Jenny's
is key.
so good at picking, I copied
Yeah.
her picks from last week, and I'm going Bengals and Broncos.
You're scared of her.
They
You're
both
scared.
start with
You both should be
B.
scared of me. I'm coming for you.
So we'll see if Jenny can pass us up in the next couple of weeks.
If I do, it's going to be really exciting.
Once again, our thanks to Bernard Holsey. Had a fantastic time visiting with him. For all of us here on the crew, thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.